3 years had passed since the human fleet returned with their alien allies. The Galactic Defense Alliance now included over 60 species, all working together to prepare for the Devourer threat. But their first real test came from an unexpected direction. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the main command center of Fortress Prime, a massive space station built using architect technology at the edge of the galaxy. The station was 10 times larger than anything humanity had ever constructed, with weapons that could destroy entire star systems and shields that could withstand attacks from multiple fleets. "Admiral, we're detecting movement in the Outer Rim," reported Captain Danny Walsh, who had been promoted to head of Deep Space Reconnaissance. "It's not the Devourers. These ships are from our own galaxy." Morrison walked to the tactical display. What he saw made his blood run cold. A fleet of over 2,000 ships was moving toward Alliance space. The vessels belonged to a coalition of species that had refused to join the Defense Alliance. They called themselves the Free Galactic Republic, and they considered the Alliance a threat to their independence. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the lead ship," announced Communications Officer Rachel Turner. The main screen lit up with the image of Supreme Commander Vex Karen, a draconian warlord who had united several aggressive species under his banner. His reptilian features showed nothing but contempt as he spoke. "Admiral Morrison, you and your so-called alliance have made a grave mistake. You think you can rule the galaxy with your alien puppet masters, but we will not bow to human tyranny. Surrender now or face the consequences." Morrison kept his voice calm. "Commander Vex Karan, we're not trying to rule anyone. We're preparing to defend against a threat that will destroy all of us. Join us, and we'll share the technology needed to survive." Vex Karan's laugh was harsh. "Your devourers are a lie created to justify your conquest. We have seen no proof of this supposed threat. Today, the Free Republic will show the galaxy that your alliance can be defeated." The transmission ended, and Morrison immediately called for an emergency meeting of the Alliance Council. Within an hour, representatives from dozens of species were gathered in the council chamber, both in person and through quantum communication links. Chancellor Vex Talar of the Zephyrians spoke first. "Admiral Morrison, our intelligence suggests that Vex Karan has convinced nearly 20 species to join his rebellion. They have been building ships for 2 years, preparing for this attack." War Prime Thekmor, who had eventually joined the Alliance after seeing the Architect's technology, growled his response. "Let them come. Our new weapons will crush them easily." But Admiral Lisa Hamilton raised a concern that worried Morrison. "The problem isn't whether we can win. It's what happens to galactic unity if we destroy other intelligent species. The Architect chose us to defend life, not to become conquerors ourselves." Queen Mind Zixandra of the Nexari offered the collective's analysis. "The probability calculations are troubling. If we use overwhelming force against the Free Republic, other neutral species may see us as the threat Vex Karan claims we are. But if we show weakness, more species might rebel against Alliance authority." Morrison studied the tactical displays showing both fleets. The Free Republic had impressive numbers, but their technology was decades behind what the Alliance now possessed. The battle could be over in minutes if they used their full capabilities. "There's something else to consider," said Dr. Amy Sullivan, who now served as the Alliance's chief scientist. "The Architect has been very clear that our role is to protect life in this galaxy. Using advanced weapons to destroy other galactic species goes against everything we're supposed to represent." Commander Rick Donovan, still serving as Earth's ambassador, had an idea. "What if we don't fight them in the traditional sense? What if we show them the truth about the Devourers instead?" Morrison looked intrigued. "Explain." "The Architect gave us access to historical records from other galaxies," Donovan continued. "We have recordings of what the Devourers did to civilizations similar to ours. If Vex Karan and his allies could see that evidence, they might understand that the threat is real." 2 days later, the Free Republic fleet arrived at the edge of Alliance space. Vexacaran had arranged his ships in an impressive battle formation, clearly expecting a fight. Instead, he received an unexpected message from Admiral Morrison. Commander. Vexcaran, we're transmitting data that will prove the Devourer threat is real. Look at these records before you attack. See what happened to galaxies that were unprepared. The transmission contained footage from the Architect's archives, entire star systems being consumed by creatures of living darkness, civilizations with millions of years of history reduced to nothing in mere days, planets stripped of all life, leaving only empty husks floating in space. On board Vexcaran's flagship, his senior officers watched the recordings in stunned silence. General Nixthor, his chief military advisor, was the first to speak. Supreme Commander, if these records are authentic, then everything we thought we knew is wrong. But Vexcaran's pride would not let him admit error. These could be fabricated, human propaganda designed to make us surrender without a fight. The attack began at dawn on the fourth day. Vexcaran's fleet moved forward, expecting fierce resistance. Instead, they encountered something they had not prepared for. The Alliance. Ships did not fight back with weapons. Instead, they used their advanced technology to disable the Republic vessels without destroying them. Captain Lisa Hamilton, commanding the Alliance response, used precision quantum fields to shut down enemy ships one by one. The Free Republic. Weapons could not penetrate Alliance shields, but the Alliance weapons could disable Republic ships without harming the crews. Within 6 hours, the entire Free Republic fleet was floating helplessly in space. Not a single person had been killed, but 2,000 ships were completely powerless. Admiral Morrison opened communications to all Republic vessels. Commander Vexcaran, your crews are safe, but your ships are disabled. We're sending rescue vessels to bring your people aboard our ships. Once you're here, you'll see the Architect's archives for yourself. The next week was crucial for the Alliance's future. Thousands of Republic officers and crew members were brought aboard Alliance vessels. They were shown the complete archives of the Devourer threat. They met with alien species from beyond the galactic rim who had survived previous Devourer attacks. Most importantly, they spoke with the Architect itself. The ancient artificial intelligence appeared to the Republic leaders as a shimmering figure of light and energy. Its voice carried the weight of millions of years of experience. Your species face extinction, the Architect explained. The Devourers have consumed 17 galaxies in this region of space. Your galaxy is next. Unity is not optional. It is survival. Commander Vexcaran, faced with undeniable evidence and overwhelming proof, finally accepted the truth. 3 days after his defeat, he knelt before Admiral Morrison in the Alliance Council chamber. Admiral Morrison, I was wrong. The Free Republic formally requests membership in the Galactic Defense Alliance. We offer our ships, our warriors, and our loyalty to the cause of galactic survival. The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. Species that had been watching the conflict saw that the Alliance had won without becoming destroyers. They had shown mercy to their enemies and converted them into allies. Within a month, 12 more species requested Alliance membership. The galaxy was finally beginning to unite, just in time. The Architect's latest calculations showed that the Devourers would arrive in just over 1 year. Morrison looked out at the stars from his command center, knowing that their greatest test was still ahead. But for the first time since learning about the Devourer threat, he felt confident that the galaxy might actually survive what was coming. 6 months after the fleet's disappearance, Lieutenant Sarah Davis was the first to spot them returning. She was on duty at the Outer System Monitoring Station when her sensors picked up massive quantum signatures approaching Earth. At first, she thought it might be an invasion fleet, but the energy patterns were unlike anything in the databases. "Control, this is Monitor Station 7, she reported. "I'm detecting multiple large vessels approaching from the galactic edge. Count is over 1,000 ships. Admiral Beth Crawford was in Earth Command within minutes of receiving the report. She stood before the main display screen, watching as the approaching fleet grew larger on the sensors. The ships were definitely human in design, but something was different about them. They moved in perfect formation with alien vessels she had never seen before. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission," announced Communications Officer Mark Johnson. "Put it through," Crawford ordered. Admiral Jake Morrison's face appeared on the screen, but he looked different. His uniform was made of materials that seemed to shimmer with energy, and his eyes held knowledge that hadn't been there before. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship showed technology that was clearly not entirely human. "Beth, it's good to see you again," Morrison said with a smile. "Permission to bring the fleet home. Jake, where have you been? What happened to your people?" Crawford asked. "We've been learning, Beth, learning things that will change everything for humanity and the entire galaxy. The architect has prepared us for what's coming." Within hours, the returning fleet entered Earth's solar system. The sight was magnificent and terrifying at the same time. The human ships looked familiar but moved with impossible grace, their hulls glowing with energy, fields that human science couldn't explain. Beside them flew vessels of alien design, sleek and beautiful, crewed by species no one in the galaxy had ever encountered. Captain Lisa Hamilton, now wearing the uniform of an admiral, commanded a mixed crew of humans and aliens as her ship approached Luna Station. The integration had taken months, but the results were extraordinary. Her navigation officer was a crystalline being that could calculate jump coordinates instantly. Her weapons officer was a creature of living metal that could interface directly with the ship's systems. "Admiral Hamilton, this is Luna Control," came a nervous voice over the radio. "We're reading energy signatures we don't recognize. Are your ships safe to approach?" Hamilton smiled. "Luna Control, we're running on technology provided by the architect. Our ships are safer now than anything in human space. Request permission to dock and begin briefings." On Earth, emergency meetings were called in every major government. The return of the fleet was being broadcast live across all human worlds. People watched in amazement as ships that had been missing for months returned with alien allies and impossible technology. Commander Rick Donovan, now Earth's official ambassador to the Architect Alliance, prepared to address the United Earth Council. His job was to explain the new reality to humanity's leaders and convince them to accept their role in the coming galactic defense. "Council members," Donovan began, "humanity has been chosen to lead a coalition of species in defending our galaxy against an extinction-level threat. The Devourers are real, and they will arrive within 5 years. We must prepare." The council session was chaotic. Representatives demanded proof, explanations, and guarantees. Some accused the military of conducting secret experiments. Others worried that humanity was being manipulated by hostile aliens. Senator Robert Blake stood up. During the debate, "Commander Donovan, how do we know this architect can be trusted? How do we know we're not being invaded by a more sophisticated enemy?" Donovan had expected this question. "Senator, the proof is in what we've gained. Our returned fleet now has technology that could destroy any threat in known space. If the architect wanted to conquer us, it wouldn't need to give us such powerful weapons." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, alien governments were dealing with their own crisis. The return of the human fleet had confirmed their worst fears. Humanity now had access to technology that made them the dominant power in known space. On Zephyr Prime, Chancellor Vex Taller addressed his people through the planetary communication network. "Citizens of the Zephyrian Empire, we face a choice. We can continue our traditional isolation and face the coming threat alone, or we can join with humanity and their alien allies in a united defense." The decision was not easy for the proud Zephyrians. They had ruled their region of space for 1,000 years without needing help from anyone. But the readings from their scientists were clear. The human ships now carried weapons that could destroy entire star systems. War Prime Thekmor of the Karathi Empire faced an even harder choice. His species had been planning to attack humanity for months. Now, those same humans returned with enough firepower to eliminate the Karathi homeworld. His military advisors recommended immediate surrender, but Thekmor's pride rebelled against the idea. General Steve Barnes, promoted again during the fleet's absence, coordinated the integration of Earth's remaining forces with the returned vessels. The technology sharing was incredible, but overwhelming. Human engineers worked alongside alien specialists to understand systems that seemed to operate on principles beyond current physics. General, the Architect's ships are offering to upgrade all our remaining vessels, reported Chief Engineer Linda Cooper. They say the process will take 3 months and will give us defensive capabilities we never imagined. Barnes nodded. Do it. If we're going to face something called the Devourers, we'll need every advantage we can get. Dr. Amy Sullivan, working with alien scientists for the first time, was amazed by what she learned. The architect had developed technology over millions of years, perfecting defenses against threats that most species couldn't even imagine. The quantum drives that humans thought were advanced were like stone tools compared to what was now available. 1 month after the fleet's return, Commander Donovan delivered humanity's message to the galaxy. The transmission was broadcast to every known civilization, carried by architect technology that could reach any point in the galaxy instantly. People of the galaxy, Donovan began, humanity extends an invitation to join the Galactic Defense Alliance. The Devourers are coming, and together we can stop them. Alone, we will all fall. The response was swift. Within days, over 30 species had requested membership in the Alliance. Even traditional enemies put aside their conflicts to face the greater threat. The Zephyrians offered their advanced sensor networks. The Karathi contributed their powerful warships. The Nexari provided strategic planning through their collective intelligence. But not everyone joined willingly. Some species refused to believe the threat was real. Others were too proud to accept human leadership. A few attempted to attack the returning human fleet, only to discover that architect technology made such attacks useless. Admiral Morrison, now commanding the largest fleet in galactic history, looked out at the stars from his flagship's observation deck. Beside him stood beings from dozens of different worlds, all united in purpose for the first time in galactic history. "Admiral," said his alien science officer, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline shell, "the architect's calculations show the Devourers will arrive in 4 years and 7 months. Will we be ready?" Morrison smiled grimly. "We have, to be. The alternative is the end of everything we've ever known. The galaxy would never be the same." Humanity had returned from the edge of space not as the same species that had left, but as the leaders of an alliance that would determine the fate of all life in their galaxy. Captain Danny Walsh was finishing his night shift at Deep Space Monitoring Station Alpha when the impossible happened. The station floated in empty space between Earth and Mars, its powerful sensors constantly watching for threats. For 3 weeks, those sensors had found nothing but silence from the missing fleet. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," called communications specialist Rachel Turner from her station. Her voice was tired but alert. She had been working double shifts since the fleet disappeared, hoping to catch any sign of the missing ships. Walsh walked over to her console. "What kind of strange?" "It's a signal, sir. Very faint, but it's definitely artificial. The computer says it's coming from beyond the galactic edge." Walsh frowned. Nothing existed beyond the galactic edge except empty space stretching for millions of light years. No ship could travel that far, not even with the best quantum drives. "Are you sure about the location?" "I've checked it 3 times, Turner replied. "The signal is coming from coordinates that shouldn't have anything there." Engineer Luke Morgan joined them at the communications station. He was the best technical specialist on the station, and if anyone could make sense of strange signals, it was him. Let me boost the gain and clean up the interference. For the next hour, Morgan worked on improving the signal. Slowly, the static cleared and something recognizable emerged from the noise. Walsh felt his heart stop when he heard, This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Terra Defense Fleet. If anyone is receiving this transmission, please respond. We are alive but in need of immediate assistance." The three officers stared at each other in shock. Walsh grabbed the microphone with shaking hands. "Admiral Morrison, this is Captain Walsh at Deep Space Station Alpha. We hear you loud and clear. Where are you?" Morrison's voice came back strong despite the distance. "Captain, we're in a place that shouldn't exist. Our navigation computers show we're outside the galaxy entirely, but there's a massive structure here. Something built it, something very old and very powerful." Walsh signaled to Turner to record everything. This was the most important communication in human history. "Admiral, what happened to your fleet? We've been searching for weeks." "We were pulled here by an artificial intelligence calling itself the Architect," Morrison replied. "It's been watching our galaxy for millions of years, studying different species. Apparently, humanity passed some kind of test." Morgan was frantically adjusting the signal strength. "Sir, I'm losing the connection. The distance is too great." "For stable communication." "Admiral, can you return to our galaxy?" Walsh asked quickly. "Not yet," Morrison answered, his voice fading in and out. "The Architect is showing us things, Captain. Technologies we never imagined. But there's something bigger happening here. We're not the first species it has brought to this place." The signal cut out completely. Walsh stared at the silent radio for several seconds before snapping into action. "Turner, send everything we just recorded to Earth Command immediately. Mark it top priority. Morgan, keep trying to re-establish contact." Within an hour, the recording was playing in emergency. Meetings across Earth and throughout human space. Admiral Crawford listened to Morrison's voice with a mixture of relief and concern. Her old friend was alive, but the situation was far more complex than anyone had imagined. An artificial intelligence that's been watching the galaxy for millions of years, she said to General Martinez. What could something like that want with humanity? Dr. Amy Sullivan, who had been analyzing the technical aspects of the transmission, looked up from her computer. "Admiral, the signal strength required to reach us from outside the galaxy is incredible. Whatever technology they're using, it's thousands of years ahead of ours." The news spread quickly through diplomatic channels. Within hours, every major alien government knew that the human fleet had made contact. The reactions were immediate and intense. On Zephyr Prime, Chancellor Vex Talar called another emergency council session. "The humans are alive and apparently working with an ancient intelligence," he announced to the gathered council members. "This changes everything." "What kind of test could humanity have passed that our species did not?" asked Council Member Nexavara. "The Zephyrians had been exploring space for over 1,000 years, much longer than humans." "Perhaps," said another council member slowly, "the test was not about how long a species had existed, but about something else entirely." On Korath, War Prime Thekmor studied intelligence reports about the human transmission. His military advisors were recommending immediate action, but Thekmor was not sure what action to take. Fighting humans was one thing, but fighting an ancient artificial intelligence with unknown capabilities was quite different. "Sir, our scientists believe this architect must have technology that could destroy entire star systems," reported General Caxthor. "If it has chosen to ally with humanity, the balance of power in the galaxy has shifted dramatically." Thekmor's clawed hands gripped his command chair. For months, he had planned to crush human expansion through military force. Now, it seemed, humanity might have access to technology that could crush the Karathi Empire instead. The Nexari Collective processed the new information through millions of connected minds. Their analysis was disturbing. An intelligence that had observed the galaxy for millions of years would know everything about every species, including their weaknesses and secrets. Queen Mind Zixandra spoke for the collective. This architect has been watching us all. It knows our military capabilities, our technologies, our social structures. If it has chosen humanity as its representative species, we must reconsider our position in galactic affairs. Captain Walsh and his team continued trying to re-establish contact with Morrison's fleet. After 12 hours of attempts, they finally received another transmission. This time, Morrison's voice was clearer and more urgent. Captain Walsh, listen carefully. The architect has shown us the reason it brought us here. There's a threat coming to our galaxy, something from outside that makes our previous conflicts look like children's games. The architect has been preparing for this threat for eons, gathering representatives from different species to form a defense force. Walsh felt a chill run through him. What kind of threat, Admiral? Something that consumes entire galaxies, Captain. The architect calls them the Devourers. They've destroyed countless civilizations across the universe. Our galaxy is next on their path, and they'll arrive within 5 years. The transmission continued with technical details that Morrison had learned from the architect. The missing human fleet was being transformed into something new, equipped with technology beyond imagination. But they would not be fighting alone. The architect had been gathering other species for the same purpose, building a defense force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. When the transmission ended, Walsh realized that everything had changed. The human fleet's disappearance had not been a tragedy, but the beginning of humanity's greatest test. The galaxy they knew was about to face an enemy that threatened all life, and somehow humans had been chosen to help lead the defense. The news spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within 12 hours of the human fleet's disappearance, every major alien government knew what had happened. The information traveled through trade networks, diplomatic channels, and spy networks that connected the civilized worlds. On the water world of Zephyr Prime, Chancellor Vextaler received the report while floating in his ceremonial pool. The aquatic being's tentacles moved nervously through the warm water as he read the details. 847 human ships, gone without any trace. His large black eyes focused on the screen showing the empty space where the fleet had vanished. "Summon the High Council immediately!" Vextaler commanded his aide. The younger Zephyrian bowed and swam quickly toward the communication chamber. Within an hour, 12 of the most powerful Zephyrians were gathered in the council dome. The transparent walls showed the dark ocean depths around them, where massive sea creatures moved like living mountains. But today, no one was watching the peaceful waters outside. "The humans have lost their entire deep space fleet," Vextaler announced. "Every ship, every person, simply vanished during quantum travel." Council member Nex Vara raised one of her tentacles. Perhaps their primitive technology finally failed them. Human quantum drives are crude compared to ours. "No," said another council member. "Our intelligence reports show their quantum signatures simply ended. This was not a mechanical failure. Something made them disappear." The council chamber fell silent. The Zephyrians had ruled their sector of the galaxy for over 1,000 years. They were used to being the strongest power in their region. But if something could make an entire fleet vanish, what could it do to them? Far across the galaxy, on the fortress world of Korath, War Prime Thekmor studied the same reports. The massive reptilian warrior stood in his war room, surrounded by holographic displays showing military positions throughout Korathi space. His red eyes glowed as he read the intelligence summary. "Sir, our spies confirm it," said General Caxthor, entering the chamber. "The entire human fleet is gone. This could be our chance to attack their colonies while they're defenseless." Thekmor's clawed hand crushed the datapad he was holding. "You fool! If something can destroy 800 ships without leaving? Wreckage. Do you think our forces would fare better?" The War Prime walked to the largest display, which showed the border between Korathi and human space. For months, he had been planning a massive attack on human colonies. The humans were weak, but growing stronger every year. Their expansion into Karathi territory could not be allowed to continue. But now, everything had changed. Instead of seeing an opportunity, Thekmor saw a threat. Something out there was powerful enough to eliminate the human fleet completely. Until he knew what it was, attacking anyone seemed foolish. "Double all border patrols," he ordered. "I want every ship captain to report anything unusual immediately, and send word to our intelligence agents. I want to know everything about what happened to those humans." In the crystal cities of Nexus, the Nexari collective processed the information through their shared consciousness. Millions of insect-like beings connected their minds to analyze every detail of the human fleet's disappearance. Their crystalline structures glowed brighter as more minds joined the collective thinking process. The conclusion reached by the Nexari was disturbing. Their calculations showed that the humans had encountered something beyond current galactic understanding. The probability matrices indicated that whatever had taken the human fleet was not from known space. Queen Mind Zixandra spoke for the collective through her massive form in the central crystal. "The pattern analysis suggests intervention by unknown forces. This disappearance was not natural or accidental. The collective's decision was unanimous. All Nexari exploration fleets would return to defended space immediately. Trade with other species would be limited to essential items only. The borders of Nexari space would be sealed until more information became available." On the trading stations and diplomatic outposts scattered throughout the galaxy, the reaction was the same everywhere. Species that had been rivals for centuries suddenly found themselves sharing the same fear. Emergency meetings were called. Military commanders received urgent orders. Defense fleets were recalled to protect home worlds. The Etherian Consortium, mysterious beings who lived partly in normal space and partly in other dimensions, emerged from their hidden refuges for the first time in decades. Their translucent ships appeared near the edge of known space, watching and waiting. Ambassador Lindara of the Etherians sent a message to all galactic governments. "The vanishing of the human fleet represents a threat to all organic life. We recommend immediate defensive preparations." Coming from the Etherians, this warning carried extra weight. They were the oldest known species in the galaxy, and they rarely involved themselves in the affairs of younger races. If they were concerned, everyone should be. The Vorthan Republic, known for their advanced sensor technology, deployed their best equipment to scan the area where the human fleet had disappeared. Their findings were shared with allied governments, but the results only deepened the mystery. There was no energy residue, no quantum disturbance, no trace that 800 ships had ever existed. On the industrial worlds of the Makani Union, robotic beings calculated defense scenarios around the clock. Their logical minds found the human disappearance especially troubling because it defied all known laws of physics and warfare. Their defense computers recommended maximum military readiness. Even the savage Bloodclaw clans, normally too busy fighting each other to notice galactic events, paused their eternal wars to consider this new threat. If something could eliminate human ships so completely, their own raiding fleets might be at risk. Trade routes that had operated for centuries were suddenly restricted. Ships that had traveled freely between worlds now required military escorts. Civilian traffic dropped by 60% as families recalled their loved ones from deep space assignments. The galactic communication networks buzzed with theories and rumors. Some said the humans had developed a new weapon that had backfired. Others believed they had encountered an ancient defense system left by a dead civilization. A few whispered about creatures from outside the galaxy that fed on entire fleets. But beneath all the theories and speculation, one truth united every species in the galaxy. They were all afraid. For the first time in recorded history, every major power began preparing for the same unknown threat. Defense budgets were increased overnight. Military research projects received unlimited funding. Old enemy species found themselves sharing intelligence about the human disappearance, putting aside generations of conflict to face something that might threaten them all. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what had taken the humans, and wondering if they would be next. Lieutenant Colonel Steve Barnes stood in the main operations center of Luna Station, staring at dozens of screens showing empty space. For 2 weeks, every remaining human ship and probe had been searching for any trace of Admiral Morrison's fleet. The results were always the same. Nothing. "Sir, the deep space scanners have finished their sweep of Sector 7, reported Dr. Helen Ross, the chief scientist leading the search effort. Her tired eyes showed the strain of working around the clock since the fleet disappeared. "Still no quantum residue, no debris, no energy signatures?" Barnes nodded grimly. He had been promoted to lead the search operation after Admiral Crawford recalled all remaining Earth forces to defensive positions. The responsibility weighed heavily on him. 2 million people were missing, and he had no idea where to look for them. Commander Tony Fletcher walked over from the communications station. "Colonel, we're getting reports from our allies. The Centauri colony sent their best survey ships to help with the search. The Mars Defense Fleet is contributing 6 vessels. Even some of the neutral species are offering assistance." "What about the alien governments?" Barnes asked. "That's the strange part," Fletcher replied. "Several species have sent ships to the search area, but they're not helping us look for survivors. They're studying the area itself, like they're looking for something else entirely." Dr. Helen Ross pulled up a new display showing ship positions throughout the search zone. "Look at this pattern, Colonel. The Zephyrians have positioned their ships in a perfect sphere around where our fleet vanished. The Korathi are running deep scans on subspace frequencies. The Nexari Collective has deployed sensor drones in formations we've never seen before." Barnes studied the alien ship positions. "It's like they're not looking for our people at all. They're looking for whatever took them." The search had become the largest cooperative effort in galactic history, but not for the reasons Earth had hoped. Every species seemed more interested in protecting themselves than finding the missing humans. Still, their advanced technology was providing data that human science couldn't gather alone. "Dr. Ross, what have we learned from the alien sensor data?" Barnes asked. "It's fascinating and terrifying at the same time," she replied, pulling up a complex chart. "The Vorthan Republic shared their quantum analysis. According to their readings, our fleet didn't explode or get destroyed. The quantum signatures just stopped, like someone turned off a switch." Commander Fletcher looked confused. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means the ships didn't travel to another location in our galaxy," Dr. Ross explained. "They didn't get destroyed by weapons or accidents. They simply ceased to exist in normal space-time. But the energy had to go somewhere. The Etherians think the fleet was moved to a different dimension entirely." Barnes felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you saying our people might still be alive somewhere we can't reach?" "It's possible," Dr. Ross said carefully. "But we have no way to prove it or find them if that's what happened. On Earth, Admiral Beth Crawford was dealing with a crisis that grew worse every day. The families of the missing crew members demanded answers she didn't have. Politicians called for investigations into the quantum drive technology. Some even suggested that the military had conducted secret experiments that went wrong. General Paul Martinez entered Crawford's office carrying a folder full of reports. "Beth, we've got a problem. 3 more human colonies have gone dark on communications. No responses to any calls." Crawford looked up sharply. "Are they under attack?" "We don't know," Martinez replied. "We sent scout ships to check on them. The colonies are still there. People are still alive, but they're not answering any long-range communications. It's like they're afraid to broadcast anything into space." Crawford understood their fear. If something could make an entire fleet disappear, smaller colonies would be easy targets. "How many of our settlements have gone silent?" 17 so far, Martinez said grimly. "And it's not just us. Our intelligence sources report that alien colonies are also cutting communications. The Karathi have evacuated 6 border worlds. The Zephyrians recalled their deep space research stations. Meanwhile, in the search zone, Dr. Kevin Wright was conducting experiments aboard the research vessel UES Discovery. As Earth's leading expert on quantum mechanics, he had volunteered to study the area where the fleet vanished. His work was dangerous, but the potential discoveries were too important to ignore. "Computer, begin quantum resonance scan," Wright commanded. The ship's sensors reached out into space, looking for any trace of dimensional disturbance. Suddenly, the ship's alarms began blaring. "Warning! Unknown energy signature detected," the computer announced. Wright rushed to his console. The readings were unlike anything in the databases. "This is it," he whispered. "This is what took them." He immediately sent the data to Luna Station and Earth Command. Within minutes, every ship in the search area was receiving the information. The energy signature was faint, but definitely artificial. Something had been in this area of space, something with technology far beyond current galactic understanding. Dr. Ross analyzed Wright's data with growing excitement and fear. "Colonel Barnes, you need to see this. Dr. Wright found traces of an energy field that shouldn't exist according to our physics. The aliens are confirming it with their own sensors." Barnes looked at the readings. Even with his limited scientific training, he could tell this was something extraordinary. "What kind of energy field?" "The kind that could fold space-time like paper," Dr. Ross replied. "If this reading is accurate, whatever created it could move objects anywhere in the universe instantly, or maybe even outside the universe entirely." The implications were staggering. Humanity had encountered something with godlike power over space and time. The missing fleet might be anywhere or nowhere that human science could understand. "Commander, Fletcher received a priority message from Earth Command. Colonel, Admiral Crawford wants all search vessels to maintain maximum distance from the anomaly area. Dr. Wright's ship is being recalled immediately." "Good thinking," Barnes replied. "If that energy field is still active, we could lose more." People. As the human ships pulled back to safer distances, the alien vessels continued their own investigations. But they too seemed more cautious now, keeping their distance from the area where the energy signature had been detected. The search for the missing fleet continued, but now it had become something larger. Humanity and its alien neighbors were facing evidence of a technology that made all their civilizations look primitive by comparison. The question was no longer just where the human fleet had gone, but what kind of intelligence possessed such incredible power, and what it wanted with them. Admiral Jake Morrison walked across the bridge of the USS Defiance, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. Through the massive viewing window, he could see hundreds of ships floating in space around them. The sight never got old. 847 vessels, all waiting for his command. This was the largest fleet Earth had ever sent into deep space. "Admiral, all ships report ready for departure," said Captain Lisa Hamilton from her station. She had been with Morrison for 3 years now, and he trusted her completely. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel as she checked the status of each ship in the fleet. Morrison nodded and looked at the main screen. The mission briefing had been simple enough. Strange energy readings from the Vega sector. Something big was out there, something the scientists on Earth couldn't explain. The readings were unlike anything they had seen before. Some said it might be a new kind of star. Others thought it could be alien technology. Morrison didn't care what it was. His job was to take the fleet there and find out. "Commander Donovan, are the smaller ships ready?" Morrison asked. Commander Rick Donovan looked up from his console. "Yes, sir. All frigates and destroyers are in position. The science vessels are loaded with extra equipment. Dr. Amy Sullivan made sure they have everything they need." Morrison smiled. Dr. Sullivan was one of the best scientists Earth had. If anyone could figure out what was causing those energy readings, it would be her. She had insisted on coming along personally, saying the readings were too important to study from Earth. The fleet had taken 6 months to prepare. 2 million people were spread across the ships. Some were military, but many were scientists, engineers, and support staff. This wasn't just a military mission. Earth wanted to learn everything they could about what they might find. "Sir, we're getting final clearance from Earth Command," said Lieutenant Tony Fletcher from the communications station. His young face was serious as he listened to the message in his earpiece. Morrison walked to the center of the bridge. Around him, his crew worked at their stations. These people had trained for years for missions like this. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and the occasional beep from a console. "Admiral Morrison, this is Earth Command," came a voice over the speakers. It was Admiral Beth Crawford, Morrison's old friend from the academy. "You are cleared for departure. Good luck out there, Jake." Morrison picked up the microphone. "Thank you, Beth. We'll check in once we reach the Vega sector." He put the microphone down and looked around the bridge. "This is it, people. Let's make history." Captain Hamilton began the countdown. "All ships prepare for quantum drive activation. T-minus 60 seconds. Morrison watched the tactical display as each ship confirmed they were ready. The quantum drive was humanity's greatest achievement. It could move ships faster than light by folding space around them. The technology was still new, only 20 years old, but it had opened up the galaxy to human exploration. "T-minus 30 seconds, Hamilton announced. Morrison thought about Earth hanging in space far behind them. Billions of people were counting on this mission. The energy readings from Vega were getting stronger every month. Whatever was out there, it was growing more active. Earth needed to know if it was a threat. "T-minus 10 seconds, Hamilton said. All ships report ready." Morrison gripped the railing in front of him. In a few seconds, they would be traveling faster than light towards something completely unknown. He had been on many missions before, but this felt different. The readings from Vega were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, engage quantum drives. The familiar sensation of quantum travel washed over Morrison. It felt like falling and flying at the same time. The stars outside the window stretched into long lines of light. Then everything went white. But something was wrong. The white light didn't fade like it should have. Instead, it grew brighter and brighter. Morrison heard Captain Hamilton shouting something, but her voice sounded far away. The bright light filled his vision completely. On Earth, Admiral Beth Crawford watched the tactical display in the command center. 847 green dots represented Morrison's fleet. She had watched many fleets depart over the years, but this one was special. It was humanity's biggest step into the unknown. General Paul Martinez stood beside her, his arms crossed. "How long until they reach Vega?" he asked. "About 6 hours," Crawford replied. "They should send their first report soon after arrival." The green dots on the screen suddenly flickered. Crawford frowned and tapped her console. "Technical, are you seeing this?" Dr. Amy Sullivan, who had stayed on Earth to monitor the mission, looked up from her station. "The quantum signatures are fluctuating," she said. "That's not normal." Crawford felt a cold fear in her stomach. "Can you contact them?" Dr. Sullivan tried her communications equipment. Static filled the speakers. She adjusted the settings and tried again. More static. On the screen, the green dots flickered again. Then, one by one, they began to disappear. "What's happening?" Martinez demanded. Crawford stared at the screen in horror. Half the fleet was gone. Then 3/4. Dr. Sullivan was frantically working at her console, trying to re-establish contact. "I'm getting nothing," Dr. Sullivan said, her voice shaking. "It's like they just stopped existing." The last green dot vanished from the screen. Crawford stood in stunned silence. 847 ships, 2 million people, all gone in less than 30 seconds. "Get me every deep space sensor we have," she ordered. "Contact all our allies. Find out if anyone saw anything." Martinez was already on his radio, calling emergency meetings. Dr. Sullivan kept trying to reach the fleet, but there was only silence. Crawford stared at the empty screen. Admiral Morrison and his entire fleet had vanished without a trace. There was no debris, no distress signal, no explanation. They had simply ceased to exist. In her 30 years of service, Crawford had never seen anything like it. Ships didn't just disappear. Even if they were destroyed, there would be wreckage, radiation, something to mark where they had been. But there was nothing. It was as if the fleet had never existed at all. Crawford knew that within hours, every government on Earth would be demanding answers. The media would go crazy. Families would want to know what happened to their loved ones, but she had no answers to give them. Earth's greatest fleet, humanity's best and brightest, had vanished into the darkness of space without leaving so much as a trace behind.